almost like the new year because I like to catalog the days, and when we start fresh again, I like to day one, how much do I do? Day two, how much do I do? And I got a good amount of things done today, and a much needed nap. Yeah, I feel like right now, because it's the new year, it's a good time to reset the mind, like to clear it out and consolidate our thoughts and then structure our days accordingly.
For me, it's 2 days in the year that I have these like reset moments. Definitely the New Year's and my birthday. When's your birthday, by the way?
It's in July.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the birthday and the New Year's is always like a chapter mark, right? To like see where you're at, see where you're going, see if you progressed.
Okay.
You know. So speaking of which, how do you think last year went? Highs and lows. Give it to me all.
Man, so starting generally, I think the year, if I were to like put it in a nutshell, it would be painful. Yeah.
In a good or bad way?
Both.
Yeah.
There are some good pains and there are some bad pains. I would say, so bad, right? The reason why I would label it bad is because these were the pains that were propelling me backwards in my journey, taking steps back involuntarily. I didn't want to, you know. And good because these were pains that were propelling me forward. So I had a big mix of both, you know. And it was a big learning experience this last year. I feel like ever since I started my sobriety, it was a lot of hard work in the beginning and hard work transitioning to living a life where I had to be mentally aware and present and conscious about the things that I was allowing myself to do and allowing myself to absorb. The first phase of that was very difficult. Going cold turkey, going through withdrawals, having my brain feel like mush and things like that, you know. And that transitioning period for that first year, it was very, very difficult because of my living conditions too, and everything that was going on in my life, you know. So I made it past that point, and going on to the second year of that, I was feeling really good because there was something new for me. I was mindfully practicing self-awareness, and I was able to have conversations with you about it, you know, and that boat started rowing into a good direction, you know. And yeah, so to put it metaphorically, the boat was out into sea. We were out exploring the world now, feeling good, you know, and everything's looking nice. Don't know where we're headed, but you know, everything's nice. And I think for a split second into the second year, and by no means is this anybody's fault but my own, I understand this, is we're out at sea, and I was just like, maybe it was just the place that was before that was causing me to have these results where I was damaging myself, you know, because everybody else can have fun. Everybody else can indulge in things and not be affected as much, you know. And I'm not a perfect person, so I don't really, and considering like just where my mind was at, I didn't know the different like levels fully in people and things like that, you know. I was still trying to understand myself. So into the second year, I tried to indulge again in drugs and alcohol. Started with a little bit, yeah, and It started a little bit and then it became a snowball effect, right? And going on into this year, or this previous year, that spiraled out of control. Yeah. And, you know, I had a very rough first half of the year. A lot of what I had worked towards, I feel like I was climbing a mountain. I got to a good certain point and I just let go, you know, and I just fell down, right? And climbing back up it, because once I reached the bottom again, I was like, this is not what I wanted, you know? I'm back in the same spot I was a few years ago, and I did not like where I was, you know? And so climbing back up was even more difficult this time, you know? It didn't take me as long to realize that I wanted to climb back up. That's because the first step is just like wanting to make a change, right? That was faster, but the climb itself took much longer. And even
just for context, climbing what?
Climbing sobriety. Yeah, climbing sobriety. And your life, you know, like getting back in, like getting your feet just leveled, right? Being able to stand still. That took a long time. Many long nights, bro. Many early mornings. And a lot of the time, like, because of the severity of the drugs and alcohol I was doing, that made me psychologically impaired, like to the point where like I couldn't process things as well, you know, and I couldn't process my emotions. It's weird because like I'm aware of these things, and now I'm aware of how much I'm losing, or I'm like down, you know. And so because of that, like I had to isolate myself, because I knew that, especially trying to go back to being sober again, I was just not in a place where I could be responsible with my emotions. And the last thing I wanted to do would like to make a decision that I could not reverse. And so that was like the first half of the year, in terms of just life in general. But towards the end of the year, like right now, like I'm grateful that I did that, because I feel like if I didn't have that energy or that motivation to go back to being sober, I don't know where I would be, you know? But talking about work wise, it's been a nice transition, dude, you know, moving locations, changing scenery, all of the old energies and history that had happened in my previous shop. It was very severe for me, you know.
Not to mention the obligations.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Heavy expenses every month.
Yeah. That was weighing down on me a lot, you know. It's crushing me. And a lot of it was on my mental, right? A lot of it was on my mental. A lot of it wasn't on my mental, you know. And just trying to like go through sobriety during that whole phase of my last shop, and then trying to make sense of the situations around me, the relationships, and like why people were acting the way they were to me, why I was reacting that way. It's a lot of sitting down and trying to process, and it took me a long time to kind of get a grip on certain things, because I just couldn't come up with a reason for certain things and be okay with that and accept that, you know. And that was just like, that's what was bothering me a lot, you know? But now looking back in it, reflecting, I feel like a lot of it was just from the drugs and the alcohol, you know, for my whole life. And just that point where like it got really severe, and it really hindered my processing for my thoughts. I couldn't come to one where I was like, okay, I'm okay with this, you know, let's just move on. it was like a lot of circling back and dwelling on certain things. But then, yeah, into this year, moving out of that shop and going to a new space, thanks to you, you know, it was a huge adjustment period in the beginning, because I was just like, oh, like I'm in a new place, like, is this real, you know? So, you know, we spend a lot of time in our businesses. I was just like, man, is this a new like place? I've transitioned like from place to place and house to house like my whole life, you know, and some places I would stay for only a couple months, you know. So like, every single time I move into a new spot, I never feel like like it's a home, you know, because I feel like eventually I'm just gonna lose it anyways, because of that natural habit and that process, right?
It's interesting you say lose it,
yeah,
instead of move on to the next.
Yeah.
You ever wonder why that is?
Honestly, yeah, because a part of I guess it's just like my accountability, and this might be like a negative part of that, where it's like I feel like a lot of things are my fault, you know. And so when I lose this, like, okay, it's my fault, you know. And I just like grew up to like adopt that perspective on it, you know? And yeah, man, I feel like going into this new place, because I was practicing sobriety, like this was a fresh start, right? Fresh start. And one thing that I'm very proud of is that I have not done any drugs since I've been in this place. Not one single one, you know? Not even one drop of alcohol, you know? And I'm proud of myself, right? This is the first time in any place that I have ever lived where that has ever happened. And it's been hard, bro, you know? But in moving into this new place, I was just like, I can't look at it as like, I'm gonna lose this, you know? Maybe we should be here and just try to make something, go about things a different way, you know? How do I wake up to my day? When I come home, how do I feel about the place? Being aware of like my mind in those different phases of the day, right? Because before, I'm just so used to like, all right, this is just a place I'm sleeping, and I'm gonna go out and I'm just gonna empty myself into life, and I'm just gonna go hard as fuck, you know? And then come back, just go to sleep, and then repeat. But then now it's like, no, I'm gonna come back here, I'm gonna respect this space, it's a clean space, I care about what happens in this space, you know? I have to actively talk to myself like that, because that inner person, or those personalities within me from before, that just like doesn't give a shit and just like, dude, who cares, right? Blah blah blah. We're just gonna go to another place anyways, right? I have to be mindful about that type of talking that I do to myself. And those are the good pains. Those are the good pains. Like, because having those mindsets of just like doing whatever I wanted and like who cares anyways, like that's familiar, right? It's almost like a defense mechanism so I don't get attached to something, because I just like get hurt when I lose when it's either taken away from me or I lose it, you know. And so I don't grow the attachment first. Just like, who cares, you know? Yeah. Because with my last job too, I think a big part in why I had to shut down the shop, along with other reasons, right? I think a big one in the beginning was like, I was really trying not to build an attachment to it. It's like, this is just a work purpose. I have certain specific goals that I'm trying to achieve out of this for research purposes and things like that. I was like, I don't want to grow an attachment to this. I was fighting it, you know? And so by the time that I lost the shop, it became like more of a burden for me than anything, right? Instead of being like, hey, you know what? Like, okay, I'm glad I had this place. I'm glad for all of this stuff. I'm glad that I got to go through this experience, you know. I'm grateful for it, like, thank you and whatever. But honestly, though, most of it was just like, man, like, I hated that. It hurt, you know?
Because it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, extremely hard.
Yeah. So, cutting that off, you know, like, it was, I was just, like, disgusted with myself, kind of, you know? Because I made a lot of poor decisions during that time. A lot of poor decisions. And, yeah. But going to this new space, like, cataloging every day. It's not even just a means to, like, make myself feel better or proud of the day or anything like that. That's just, like, a small part of it for me. I think a lot of it, as of right now, is like, I want to catalog every single thing I do from morning to night to make sure I'm accountable, first of all. And second is to make sure that I don't make a mistake. Like, because a lot of these things, I feel like when I talk to other people, like waking up early, going to the gym, or going home, having a nice meal, going to sleep at this time. Some people are just like, dude, that's just like regular, normal people things to do, you know? But for myself,
for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for myself, it's like, I need to make sure that, like, I don't give myself room to have these other bad habits, because it's gonna open up that box again for me, you know? Yeah. So it's like a very delicate balance for me. And I guess that's just like the post life of an addict, you know? Yeah. And so thank you for letting me share.
Well, thanks for sharing. I actually have a lot of questions.
Sure.
First one is, what do you think is your why? Because the why is always what stems people to, like, be motivated to do something, right? So, like, what do you think your why is for going cold turkey and actually making it work, even though, you know, there were some chances of relapse and whatnot, right? But, like, what do you think this is, like, why is this moment so much stronger than wanting to quit before?
It's funny. The other day in the gym, I woke up. Someone came into the gym, and I was already there. It was super early in the morning, and they came in. They sat down. They're like, "Man, I don't know what I want to do right now." They're like, "I can't find motivation to figure out what I want to do." And as they told me that, I looked at them. I was like, maybe you just don't need motivation to wake up to go hard. Like, you're just already woke up like that. And right now it's like, you're just, you know. So that was like, at first it was a funny thought, but then I went home and, like, I pondered on it. But to answer your question, my why is because I want to exercise my fullest potential.
Okay.
Because I know where my potential can be indulging in habits that lead me a certain way. I want to take that same energy, that same persistence, and apply it in a different direction. See just where that takes me. And this is more of like the internal route instead of the external route. It's like, put that same energy into my self-awareness, into my healing, into my self-development, my self-mastery, and really just focus this next part of my life into that. You know, like, really dial it in and just invest everything into that. And I want to see where that takes me, because that's deep into a hole that that energy was put into. I was just like, man, it's crazy, you know? So I can only imagine, like, where I could go doing a different route. So yeah, that would be the way to answer.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked, you know, off camera many times. One of the concepts that was brought up was like, if that version of myself could have accomplished what that accomplished, imagine the version that I take care of, the version I have better health, better mental, better everything. Imagine what that version of Lo can do.
Isn't that like an exciting thought when you think about that?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I it's very similar for me, with regards to at least mental and fitness, because we both got into a level of like, from the outside looking in, people might think, whoa, you guys fucking are there, you guys made it, you guys have this, you guys have that. Right? Like, from outside in looking at you, right, you had a shop.
Okay.
You had the courses with the students.
Yeah.
Tattooing every day. Apprentices, plural, right? And in San Jose, most places are super expensive to rent out.
Yeah.
So from the outside, it looks like you're killing it. But then how was it going on the inside? Right? Look, that leads me to my next question. Getting to that point of accolades, right? Do you think that was a genuine decision on your behalf to do those things? Or do you think it was like persuaded by what society dictates as success?
So for myself personally, I didn't even see those things as accolades. Not really. It was just like a part of the process for what I was really trying to achieve.
As in, like, to getting to that next step.
As in at least accomplishing the goal that I was trying to accomplish. And it was just like a natural, like a tree that grows leaves. These were just the leaves that grew on that tree or that plant. That's the way I see it.
So did you like those leaves?
It was cool. I just have a hard time being proud of myself for things. That's almost like non-existent, because I just, man, to be honest, if I'm going to be completely honest, I just learned how to live my life to work as hard as I can without needing that type of, how should I say, affirmation or self-support, and this was no different. As far as accolades go, it didn't really seem like an accolade. The only thing that I was proud of was my apprentices, because that was the whole reason why I opened up the shop.
For them to have a place to do the art, to
do
the tattooing,
exactly,
to learn.
Yeah, I wanted to grow where we were at, because it got to a point where they were just tattooing at my house and learning at my house, and they were dedicated, And I was just like, man, I can't, because with the money that I invested into the shop, I was going to do something else with it, because I didn't want to open up a tattoo shop. Like, I did not care about that, but when I saw my apprentices working there, I was just like, I can't be a mentor to these people and not do the best that I can to try to give them a good career. I could have put them into shops and things like that, help them with those type of things. I could have just canceled the apprenticeship, but I was like, no, I love what I do, and I want to make sure that I do my due diligence, and that led to opening up the shop, And I don't want to, it's not to put the blame on anyone, right? It's more like myself, like I just wanted to be the best mentor that I could be, so that when I could look back, even if I'm not proud of myself, at least I look back and I wouldn't be ashamed of myself. You know what I mean? And I got to live that fully, and I did do that, right? All of my apprentices, they're all the ups and downs over the years. They're all in their own shops, and they're all doing well for themselves. And I'm very proud about that. That is something that I was proud of, for sure. The other things about opening up a classroom, and getting a little bit of notoriety and being pretty booked and making the money and things like that. Those were just like a part of that process, and I was just playing around with it, a lot of those ideas. And for myself personally, putting ideas together, structuring a plan and a program, those things come relatively easy for me. At least in the thought process of it. Executing too, because and I know you understand this, is that when it comes to execution, you can't half step, especially when it comes to business or it comes to something that regarding production or work, right? It's like once you make your mind on it, you need to get to action. Sometimes that's a healthy habit, sometimes it's a very unhealthy habit. But yeah, and then it was just like natural. Teaching the class was just natural. A lot of this was like learning experience, things like that. But and honestly, I'm talking about this right now with the capacity and brain power that I have as of right now in this exact present moment, right? But I'm sure there was like pockets of like, okay, like this was fun and whatever, but I don't ever recall something like extremely satisfying during that whole process. And a lot of it, once again, was because of the drugs and alcohol. Like alcohol and drugs were like a very big, consistent part of that process, which led to the numbness and other things on top of like the being numb from the workload and things like that. I just put my head down to start working. But yeah, in hindsight, looking back, I will say that if I did die tomorrow, right, not completely, I would look back and at least one thing that I can be proud of, or at least not ashamed of, is that I got my apprentices off the for sure. You know what I mean? Because I knew how much I wanted someone to do that for me when I was younger, to look out for me like that. And I don't want to get into too many personal details with my apprentices, but different from the classroom, right? So in the classroom, I have students. The students, you get taught a curriculum that I set every single day that they come in, since they're paying money. They're expected to learn something, right? And I just treat them as students. Here's like exactly the topics you're going to go over, the techniques you're going to learn, and you get your money's worth, right? But apprenticeship is like, it's like a personal commitment. At least in a traditional sense, a personal commitment to both people, both ways. I'm going to teach everything I know, not just about tattooing, but my life philosophy too. This is how I live, at least the good parts of it, or you try to. And I had a personal relationship with these three individuals because I saw something in my own background, personal background, that grew an attachment to these certain people, right? And there's a lot of similarities and parallels and things like that. And yeah, it was and to be fair, like, they're all amazing with each of their own different personalities. I got to know them and I'm very proud of them. But if I was just talking about like strictly just a teacher's point of view and looking at like students, like I think in the regular setting, these would be considered like the misfits, the ones that like misunderstood, people weren't really listening to them, or people would just kind of cast them aside. And like some of those elements made me like grew even more of an attachment to them, to want to help them, to help grow the plants that people said cannot be grown, that no one cares about because people think that they're just going to be like not that pleasing anyways, right? But my mentality was like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna do what I can no matter what till the wheels fall off, and I did that. Yeah. I literally did that. So I can be proud of myself. Yeah. As far as accolades go, that's the one That's the only one single accolade out of that shop that I could walk away with my head high, straight up, you know. Yeah, but on a personal tip, sobriety was the other one. So 2 accolades. And from the outside looking in, for people watching and listening to this, sure, like, you know, the hard work was there, and you know, some people wish that they could even open up a shop or like have the skills and become a tattoo artist, you know. But I guess after this, what we just discussed, I can tell people confidently that like none of that even matters until you work on yourself. Straight up, man. You know, none of those things even matter, because not being self-aware of myself and a lot of the self-sabotage I was doing didn't allow me to fully enjoy the experience of what I did. You know, and so, dude, taking care of yourself, figuring yourself out, you know, creating your, just respecting yourself, so that you can allow yourself the grace and the health to enjoy an experience. Because without that first, you just kind of live in kind of like zombie mode, you know. Autopilot, yeah. And that, if I were to regret anything in life, I regret that. Straight up, you know. So going back in time, if I were to go back in time, if that was even possible, I would take myself right before I opened the shop and tell myself not to do it, and just work on yourself. Work on yourself, get healthy. That's what I would tell myself. Because that's got to come first. Because even I'm sitting here talking to you about like, oh yeah, I'm proud of like my apprentices and things like that. I wouldn't say like I was even the fucking greatest teacher. Not at all times. They love and respect me though, because of the sacrifices that I made for them. They literally watch me like, you know, struggle through my personal life and through my professional life. And yeah, I did teach them a lot of what I knew, at least to the best ability that I could. But there was also times that I made very drastic and damaging mistakes without realizing that how much it was affecting them. We grew, because it wasn't like, and for context too, it wasn't like just a regular work relationship here. This is like we have a personal relationship with art, you know. So it's a very sacred thing. And yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't always the best person. I wasn't always the most considerate person. You know, I made a lot of damaging decisions, for sure, for myself and for other people. But I'm glad to be sober today, and looking back at it, I could like just honestly say that, you know. Yeah, what a rough ride.
That was a lot. And then, you know, I know you shared over the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But let's not negate the fact that it's a year's worth of highs and lows. Right? And like, yeah. And I'm just outside looking in, you know. Yeah. Like, I see what you're going through, and I remember like, fuck, man, like that's a lot. Like, let's just talk numbers only, right? We don't have to mention those numbers, but like in comparison, right? I think, you know, all the stuff that you had going on, yes, you had to be the one to make ends meet, right? Just so that it can keep going on.
Yep.
And I remember looking at my expenses like, I'm already tripping off of this. His expenses are 3 times more, right? And people like us, we only know one craft,
yeah,
right? And so we do all, right? Every single day. I remember you were at the shop 7 days a week, bro. Night, what was the term? Morning till night,
yeah,
right? And like going ham, and not just doing them little pieces. You do back pieces and all that all day long, and you know, to make ends meet. And I remember hearing those things from you. I'm just like, Fuck, man, that's tough, bro. You know?
Yeah.
But the stallion you are, you just kept going.
Yeah.
You know?
It was damn. Thinking back about it, it's just like, man, the whole experience is like also kind of haunting a little bit, you know? Being there day in and day out, it's a bless. Like some people are like, maybe you should just be grateful that you got to have that experience.
Oh.
No.
Oh, yeah?
Like, no, man. Like, I put it on myself for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of it was like I couldn't. I didn't have the capacity, and just like I knew the processes of creating a self-sustaining business, but I just during that time didn't have the capacity, or at least like gave myself the time to think it out, right?
Or the clarity for it.
The clarity, absolutely. That would have been key, you know. And yeah, man, it's haunting thinking back about that because I spent unholy amount of hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, and towards the end, I started living there, you know.
Yeah. You have to cut back somewhere.
Yeah.
You know.
That was a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't find it in myself to give up. When I could have, though. I could just be like, you know what? Like, this sucks, you know? Like, let me just cancel the lease. But something inside of me, and I think that it's more toxic than it was brave or honorable. Because...
Like ego-driven?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, man, I don't want to shut this down, you know?
Yeah.
But I should have just done that. I should have just been like, hey, look, guys, like, this is not good for me, you know?
Yeah.
I could have just shut it down.
This is not in alignment with what I want.
Yeah. And it's not doing me any favors. And I'm not being the best person I can be, so I'm not doing you guys any favors, you know? But I didn't know if that was an option. Like, I couldn't.
I mean, you zeroed in, right? Like,
it. Yeah.
Horse blinders are on.
Yeah.
I can only take care of what I need to take care of right now. In order to make this month work.
Yes. Because it would just like shatter me if it didn't, right? Or maybe it's just like I couldn't just conceive the thought of like
giving up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but now in hindsight, if I'm working on a business project or I'm doing something, and like let's just say something that's a part of that process, or I'm not feeling good or whatever, I'm gonna be honest about it, and dude, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's growth.
Because you know where that path led before.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be ignorant to know where that path goes and you still walk that shit.
Yes.
But
story of my life.
That's self-awareness, right?
Yes.
And progress, right? Growth. Yeah, man. I remember. Pretty sure you were tatting me up that one time.
Okay.
When we talked plenty of times, right? And you open up and sharing like your obligations and shit, and I was like, why? Why? As in like, because we talked about very dynamic reasons to why we do what we love.
Yes.
Right? Like, at the core, it's music, right? For me, at least. And for you, it's art. And then it became tattooing. And then for me, it became videography, right? Directing. And with us being the hustlers we are, we got to those different levels, right?
Sure.
But is that like what we really wanted? Right? Because we were doing it, like you said, so that you can create a space for your apprentices, to be the right mentor, right? And I know you mentioned earlier about like giving up would crush you, right? But at the end of the day, what we ended up doing was, or at least outside looking at what you ended up doing, was just coming back to, the alignment of what you really like.
At least I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
At least having the capacity and the space to breathe, to be like, all right, like what do I want now, and that's a blessing in itself.
That's a lot healthier. Yeah, man. And I I've been very fortunate to have found this location because I'm here for 7 years now.
Yep.
And you now have moved in, and the landlord's super chill, and I remember him just randomly texting me moments before you were tattooing me.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, I got some rooms opening up. If you know anybody." I'm like, while you were telling me, and I was like, at first I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Everyone has to walk their own path, right, and like figure things out. Yeah. But I can tell my brother was hurt, right? And I was like, just looking at facts, right?
Yeah.
X amount goes to rent, X amount going to payroll, X and this. I'm like, if he lessened the location, it would almost shave off 70% of these expenses.
Yeah.
Right. If it made sense for him to leave the mold.
Yeah.
And I was hesitant because I don't want to tell you how to do your business.
Absolutely.
Like we got it from the mud. So like, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna ask her. And lucky for us, like this location, like it's definitely like a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
Than everywhere else in San Jose.
Sure. And the peace, it's if in comparison to the east side of San Jose, oh yeah, dude, man, that I think that alone. But first, before I say that, thank you, bro. Thank you, and huge thank you in two ways, at least I can think of right now. First one is thank you for being considerate of like my space and who I was, and not like trying to shove something down my throat or trying to give me hope, or like at least being considerate enough to be like at least processing it out before shooting me something like that, and I really, 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 really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Second thank you is for talking to me about it and telling me about the spot. I'm gonna be completely honest, bro. I feel like I don't have many people in my life that are considerate for me like that. And even in the work situation in the workshop, I can't really expect it from the people who work there. They just come in there and do their thing, go. Even the students, right? But we have to be considerate for them, at least as much as we possibly can.
And that's the role, right?
Maintain it, yeah.
Yeah.
And in my personal life, I for sure don't have people consider. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, right? And so, for you to be that person, thank you so much. I really, 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 really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, in comparison, bro, like this place compared to the last spot, dude, just the environment alone was bad enough for my mental health. Because I grew up in the area too.
Yeah.
We have the biggest homeless population there. There's a lot of like gang activity, things like that. Things that I grew up being used to. But now I'm trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And just walking outside and seeing a lot of this nonsense is like, that's right, daunting enough, right? And now let alone all things go inside the shop. I thought that maybe because I grew up in that area and I spent a lot of time in that specific plaza itself, I was like, oh, sentimental value. Worst decision ever.
Yeah.
Even the people who knew me, the business owners who knew me since I was a little kid, were like, why did you open up here?
I mean, in hindsight, you tried your best, right? You made a decision based on the knowledge you have and the feelings you had.
Yeah.
Right. And
feelings for sure.
Yeah. But thanks for saying that. You mentioned it a few moments ago, but like the way that you take care of your apprentices, because you saw that they were misfits, because we identify with them, right? Because we were misfits and we weren't given handouts.
Oh, hell no.
We earned everything, every single step, right? And I wonder, like, if we had a helping hand, would it have been different? But no point going down that route, right? It's like it lit a fire in us to keep going, right? But I guess I bring it up because, you know, our relationship is very much like your relationship with your apprentices, right? It's like we know what we've been through, so we know the pain. It'd be nice to have someone look after us for a change here and there.
Oh, hell yeah! Yeah.
And
I'm grateful.
likewise, man. Yeah. And having you down the hall has been nice.
Yeah, like this podcast and just this space for me and you to come and sit down. Let's be honest, bro. In the beginning, it was something to get used to, right? Just like anything else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always behind the camera.
Yeah.
So there's a learning curve to be in front.
Remember what you told me? You're like, bro, what am I gonna talk about? Like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, what the heck? You're like the most amazing person in the world. Like, I'm sure a lot of people want to listen to like your experiences and your work, things like that. We'll get to this point, and it's cool to have this space to sit and talk, at least in a very comforting way. Comforting and like open and professional and a mindful way to talk to each other. And this is like sick, Yeah. And I really appreciate these conversations. I wanna talk about something. I wanna ask you a question.
Sure.
So, talking about the handouts. Right? That question you asked. If we were to be given handouts, do you think things would have been? I feel like handouts depends on what kind of handout we're doing. Monetary handouts, that's one thing, right? Financial handouts, that's one thing. But guidance and openness and kindness, that's a different kind of handout.
Oh yeah.
I know that for myself personally, I didn't get either or. There was like little sprinkles of kindness maybe here and there, and like genuine like I want the best for you, let me just do this for you, and you don't owe me anything. Just forget about it, I feel like along the path, we could use more of that. Straight up, that shouldn't cost anything. There was enough room for it to grow. It's enough to at least sharing knowledge and letting people just do their thing, and and helping out in certain ways, and being considerate mentally and things like that. Those are all forms of kindness. I feel like if there was more of that, yeah, things for sure would have been different. I wouldn't even need money. I wouldn't even need none of that, right? Like, just offer me some of that if I'm asking for help, or being genuine with me. People not like, because people, as much as I self-sabotage myself, other people have sabotaged me, I've been through a lot of those types of experiences. So I feel like that part of the handouts, for sure, bro. Like, I think I've just have come to a conclusion where I'm just going to spend the rest of my life giving those handouts out. Straight up, man. Not the money handouts, but the kindness handouts. Like, any opportunity I have of doing that, I'm giving it. Straight up, So my question to you is, do you feel like for yourself, what kind of person do you think it would be if you had more of that? The kindness handout. Really?
I have the support of a very loving woman. I also have the guidance of a fortunately a mentor that I'm very close to. And so in that side of the things of support, It's definitely been helpful having those two people. You know, the financial handouts, can someone just tell me how to get from A to B?
Yeah.
That is what I've never gotten those. I don't think I'd be able to be where I am unless I had those two, though. You know, my mentor and my wife.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, this is a lonely path. You know, but having, you know, it's almost like you're walking. You know, I know we talk about hiking analogies a lot, but it's like you're hiking and it's dark and it's bushy and you don't know where the fuck you're going. And then every now and then you got someone with a flashlight and be like, "Hey, don't worry, man, I'm right here." That's how I feel like they are, at least for me. So I do take that as fuel, you know, their support. Because again, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have that kind of support, at least from those two. I think every now and then, thinking about like if it would be any different if we had someone be like, "Hey, this is how you get from A to B."
Yes.
I wonder what that would be like.
I think one of my my therapists would say is we shouldn't believe that having that in our life should be something that's rare. To have a support like that and to surround ourselves with people like that, we shouldn't have to beg for it, and we shouldn't have to work for it. Because I remember talking to her at one point, and she was in just like an overview of it. She was trying to tell me, you shouldn't normalize that, because that is actually hindering you from living a more fulfilling life. You only led your situations and circumstances and what you chose to do, and your psyche has made you believe that these things have to be earned, and has put you into, going back to your analogy, in a dark forest, in a dark place, walking a dark path. But she's like, rest assured that there's people out there who have nothing but kindness and love and support surrounded around them. Literally.
Like for us?
No, for the other people. Like there's people out there that like they have all of those things. And she was saying that like it's just a matter of your choice for yourself. Stop making yourself believe that these things have to be earned, because you have been made to believe that this far and few, kindness and support, and you know, someone offering you help and navigation and things like that, right? It's okay to have nothing but that in your life, depending on who you choose to surround yourself with, being aware of it, and then being open to it, you know, and then creating that dynamic. And she was also listing out every single one of my friends in my group have a specific role, and I know exactly who they are and what positivity and love that they bring to me, and that's the only people that I surround myself with. So that at the end of the day, she could say, I have nothing but kindness and love and positivity inside my life. There's no no doubt for darkness or anything like that. And as she was explaining it to me, it sounded so foreign. I was just like, what? Like, it sounded almost like fake. Like, how could you even live a life like that? It's not possible, because the world is a dark, grimy place, and like it's a dog eat dog world, and you know. And she was like, no, it's not. Why do you believe that? And I have been marinating on that ever since that conversation. Because it's someone who really genuinely cared to talk to me. And she was my therapist, not because I paid her. I didn't pay her $1 to be my therapist. She was one of my tattoo students who came, and I genuinely just wanted to help her. And she turned out to be a therapist, which I needed exactly at that time. You know? And she spent many hours in the night talking to me. And that was a gift from God, dude. Straight up, man. But yeah, you know, and I just wanted to kind of just let that thought go with you.
Do you think that stems from like just us feeling unworthy?
I think that's a huge factor of it, yes.
Yeah.
Certain experiences, especially in our younger lives, most likely from the people that raised us, like the adults, the adult figures, and then the peers around us as we grew older, made us think that we had to earn love, earn respect, earn compassion, you know. So you feel unworthy until you earn it. Now, because I'm a good husband, I get to have a good wife. Now, because I'm a good student, I get to have a good mentor. Now, because I earned these relationships, I earned this trust, and that's the problem right there. Because that's generational trauma. Literally. The peers, the adult figures in our lives, they were made to believe that, so they make their children believe that. Domino effect. So to break that is like, and I feel this, I'm not gonna say I'm right. I'm not gonna say it's the right way to go. But because of that exact reason, I want to wake up every day and anybody that I can give kindness to, oh, you got it, dude. You don't owe me anything. I'll just give it to you. And I've been doing that for the past few years, you know. And the shock on people's faces. And it's not even like that shock makes me happy. It's more like, it actually kind of makes me sad. Because it's like, I ask myself, why do we need to ask for something? For someone to be kind to you, you know? Straight up, bro. Yeah, man. That's like, I think this is a huge factor for myself. Why I haven't chose not to have kids yet. Because I was still trying to figure these things out, you know? And because I was, for sure, wasn't being kind to myself. And I already knew that I was going to be not a suitable parent anyways, right? During the time. Yeah, man. So, but moving forward though, like practicing and developing this, like, I think that's the big mental reprogramming there. And if I could share something else from a lecture that I listened to from someone that we are both familiar with, it's from Dr. Gabor Mate, and he did a lecture on self-expression and child development. And he said that the bottom line two things that human beings need in this world to survive and to grow is self-expression and the physical touch of another human being. In your early years as a kid, when you're developing as a baby through your adolescence, through your childhood, you need to self-express yourself, and you need to have the physical touch and the warmth and the comfort of somebody nurturing you. He said that over the studies and analysis over throughout the years, if you're missing either one of those two things, you're going to die. You're literally going to die. And if you have a lack in those two certain areas, you're going to be underdeveloped physiologically and psychologically. So the more that you are limited in your self-expression, it hinders your psychological development all the way into your adulthood. And that goes back to the topic we're talking about, where it's like, you have to earn my love. You have to earn my respect. You have to earn this. And pretty much in the lecture, he was saying, like, that is not normal. You know? But maybe in our society, at least where we're grown and, you know, things like that, it is normal. But hearing that from him, and then talking to my therapist, they're like, it's not normal. Get that through your head. There's civilizations and societies out there where you don't have to ask for these things. It seems like a fairy tale, bro, right?
Now, I do remember this lecture. I watched it a while ago too.
Yeah.
The self-expression part of it is like, you know, when you're young and it was categorized as acting out, or like, or being shut down for crying, or being shut down for having your own thoughts, right? That's all in the realm of self-expression. Just because the caregivers or the adults around us, they carry how they treated, right? How they were treated, because that's all they know, right? And they bring it down to us. But you have, I think the lesson I learned from that whole lecture was like, those kids had to mute, and had to mold a certain way to be loved. Like, oh, if I shut up, then he'll love me, you know, or if I listen, he'll love me, right? And yeah, that's definitely something that my wife and I take pretty seriously when we're like raising our kids, because we know how it affected us, and we don't want to pass that down. You know, we have to stop it. You know, we have to be aware. We have to call each other out if we're accidentally did that. You know, hold each other accountable for it, right? But it sucks, man. It sucks thinking about like how those little everyday things affected us. You know,
maybe they're not so little, bro.
Huh?
Maybe they're not so little.
But yeah. See?
Maybe those are really, really big things.
Yeah. Almost scary, you know, thinking about it. Like, well, I have to be a certain way just for you to accept me.
Yes.
Get me a little emotional right now. Got Ramate, man.
Dude. After this conversation, I know for sure that I'm gonna be fucking laying in my bed all night thinking about this.
Trying to pinpoint where those instances happened, if we can even remember.
Yeah, and just how it affects me present day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just like my opinions on things. You know, like,
or even how we are.
Exactly.
Right, like
for sure.
Like the people pleaser, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or not being able to find joy if we don't have someone's approval.
Yeah. I definitely, I think I was, to a certain extent, as definitely with my friends growing up, the homies and stuff, you know. I was definitely a people pleaser. Because that was like my only group, dude. Like, that my support group, you know? And like, I just wanted them to accept me.
Yeah, because if you didn't, then you would lose.
Yeah.
Lose them, right?
Oh, for sure. That's terrifying, you know? Because then, like, you're really alone, you know? Yeah. And at times, you know, you do get to that point sometimes. But, yeah, man. But that also, I think, helped create the rebellious, at least in myself, you know? Outcast, rebel, you know? Just because, like, I don't want to grow attachments to you guys. I don't care what you guys have to say. Because I don't want to be a failure to you. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not have you have the luxury of like picking me up and then dropping me down anytime you want, you know? I'd rather just like say fuck you guys and be this person that you don't like. Oh, it's pretty deep shit.
And then there's the other thing that you brought up with Gabamate.
Yeah.
Was the physical touch.
Yeah.
Right? I think my wife and I saw another one of his lectures or interviews or podcasts or something where he was like, humans from birth should be carried.
Yes.
If you look at the tribes thousands of years ago, they hold their kids till like 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
All day, every day. Right? And that physical touch is important because it releases, I don't know, people call it oxytocin or some shit, to let the body know that you're safe.
Okay.
To let your body know that you're accepted, right? But in our society these days, we're like
walking kids on a leash.
or like just the fact of like there's this topic called sleep training. Okay, to where by definition, for your kid to build independence faster, you have to let him or her cry themselves to sleep.
I've heard that, yes.
And so that in this capitalist world, you can be productive, right? So you can detach. But really, what's happening is, what Gabramate said was, they cry because they need the comfort. They cry because they need to feel safe. They cry because they're hungry, right? This day, society thinks it's about independence, but really, it's making the kid realize that two things: I can only be carried or loved or comforted if I act a certain way, which is what we talked about. Or the other one is, I don't really have a caregiver. I have to stand on my own toes, you know? And that's a lot of trauma that people go through, man.
Yeah.
But and so we're told left and right, you know, let them cry, you know, but our instincts, my wife and I, and all of humankind, is to go and pick up the child,
Yeah.
right? Why would I not pick up my child if my child's going through something? Right? And they all talk about independence, right? But what we have to see is by giving those two things, right, it actually builds a better foundation for the child to be confident.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely against what society does right now. But that's, I guess, the path that my wife and I are trying to do. For our kids, at least.
You are doing, man. You are doing. And I think even having this conversation is very powerful because you're aware, bro. Like, man, you're like phenomenal parents. For sure. You know? Damn, man. This is a touchy subject for me, for sure. You know? I think growing up I had a lot of confidence issues. I didn't even know what confidence was, dude. You know? Just always repeatedly made to feel like I was a failure, you know? And yeah, I feel like if I had that, right, where it was more of like a because as a kid, like I never had a place where, like, if I got in trouble or if I did something or if I accomplished something at school, I never had a place to go where I could, like, have somebody to congratulate me on it, you know, or like if I needed help or something like that. I didn't have a place where I could feel secure, where, like, you know, I had a role model or a person there to, like, be like, hey man, like, it's all good, you know. Yeah, man. So I could only imagine, like, how good it would be for children to have that. I think those are big parts of my past. And talking to you about it right now, like, it's opening up a lot of memories for me. But I have a pretty damn good memory. But definitely those memories were suppressed for sure. Yeah, man. It was tough, dude. You know? Like, not feeling secure in my own place where I was sleeping as a kid. Not feeling secure outside. Yeah, that shit was hard. Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're going through this shit. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the journey is to figure out how to process all that so that we can develop better, you know?
As emotional as it's making me right now, talking about this, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I feel like this is the most emotional I have felt like all years, only 2 days. But about to like catalog it with the previous year. It's getting me emotional, dude. You know, talking about this whole conversation, dude. You know,
A lot of people don't talk about this shit.
it's making me feel good though. Like, comforting, very comforting. It's actually very painful and comforting at the same time. You know, it's like cracking.
Maybe because we're not suppressing it right now.
Yes.
They're acknowledging that it did happen.
That the concrete is breaking open.
Fuck yeah.
I kind of feel like that's how it feels right now. The hard concrete is finally like cracking open. You're just like, oh fuck, dude. Like, my soul could breathe a little bit, you know? Yeah.
Chipping away.
Chipping away. Shit, dude.